Now, ladies and gentlemen, we had two big pieces of news drop yesterday, one of which was a play that the Buffalo Bills used quite a bit in their offensive playbook. And ironically enough, they voted to ban the tush push, but lo and behold, still something that could be a part of the Bills' offensive game plan in 2025. We are going to be unpacking that ad nauseum today, as well as the news that just broke that Buffalo will be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks, right? And look, I'm not particularly a guy that likes to put the tinfoil hat on. Sometimes I'll do like a couple of joke videos about the Super Bowl logo, suggesting that colors are saying what team is going to be represented. No, I'm not 12 years old. I find it funny. And I make videos on that in jest. But one of the things when it comes into the, oh my God, if your team is featured on Hard Knocks, that means there's no way you're making it to the Super Bowl. There is no evidence that a team has ever made the Super Bowl while on Hard Knocks. I think that there's a couple of things that we need to unpack there and sort of set the record straight, because I feel that it is a very silly argument, especially with some of the parameters that were put into place to identify teams that were appropriate to be on the show. But then more importantly, I kind of want to talk about what I think it could potentially do to the culture. Some people are upset that we're going to be in the spotlight, especially since there is already drama, I guess, around the whole James Cook contract situation. However, I did want to talk about, let's go ahead and talk about this tush push, right? Yesterday morning, I woke up and I ended up seeing a tweet from Diana Rossini where she said, per her sources, it is more than likely, it is likely the tush push is going to be on its way out. So me accepting the what I perceive to be reality, I was just like, okay, I'm going to think about a world right now where Buffalo is not going to be able to operate said play. And I just assumed the worst. And I should have waited, so I definitely want to go on ahead and put out an apology there. I definitely owe you guys better to wait for the final report rather than just giving a gross manifestation of said rule. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad, because many of you know that I thought the entire sentiment around, oh my God, the play's unfair, it's a rugby play, ha ha ha. I've been in this position for a while, right? And my position has always been, if there is no data that has suggested that there are gross amount of injuries that occur from a specific play, you shouldn't be taking it out of the NFL rulebook, or you shouldn't be disallowing it within the game of the NFL. Because largely, I think that it's not, oh my God, that gives teams a competitive advantage. That's what these coaches are paid such high salaries for, is to find these competitive advantages. And if other teams can't find a way to stop it, then I think that's where we end up getting into some crazy issues. And even if there was a time in the world where we could genuinely, Milo, what are you doing, bro? He's licking his nuts real fast. Sorry, that is way too much information. But even if there was a world where there was no data or no subject matter proving that a team could potentially stop said play, then maybe you could probably go on ahead and convince me. But again, like I said, as much as I hate to use this real life example, the Kansas City Chiefs stopped it 3 times in the AFC Championship, right? There have been times even when Philly has been stopped once or twice. So it's not a matter of it's impossible to stop. It's a matter of teams are simply just not practicing enough to stop said play. And I don't think that this year in 2025, that play is exclusively only going to be ran by the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. I think if you look at the signs of the teams in particular that ended up voting to keep it, right, that voted to keep it within the league, I think that they have plans to start to utilize that overall play. Just go on ahead and look at teams that have a quarterback of similar size, similar strength to Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. I think we're going to start to see a couple here and there. I think another question surrounding this is, why in the hell did the Buffalo Bills vote to ban it as well? I think there's a lot of theories going around. I guess number one, Sean McDermott was, I suppose, just getting frustrated with Joe Brady calling it all the time. as the offensive coordinator. I think he might be nervous that Josh Allen, as he is vastly approaching the age of 30, and by the way, happy belated birthday to the MVP. Maybe he's trying to preserve his health since he knows that now that he's getting older, maybe the risk of injury is a bit higher. I don't know. But regardless, I still think this is going to be a part of Buffalo's overall game plan. So without a doubt, the Buffalo Bills are now going to be running the Tush Push in 2025. I think the question now remains is this the final year? Because the entire vote where the owners had to end the actual meeting, where Jason Kelsey was out there speaking his piece, where he was out there trying to convince and move swing votes, they ended that meeting and went into a private room. So I'm not sure if there was some blackmail going on. I'm just kidding. Certainly no blackmail going on, but I still think the entire thing was a little fishy. All right. Like having all of these owners sit around in a private discussion, and lo and behold, he had two teams switch up at the very last minute to preserve it. But regardless, play is still there. Like it or not, it is a part of this Buffalo Bills identity. Yes, a lot of it is quarterback sneaks, but sometimes we do like to utilize the pushing function of being able to get those last gritty 1 to 2 yards. So I'm feeling it from there. So next thing I wanted to talk about, and by the way, guys, welcome everybody that is in. Do me a favor, smash that like button. It's the easiest way to show love over here, folks. We are well over 42,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. I want to get to 50 before the season begins. I genuinely believe that we can do that. I'm probably going to start giveaways here soon, where I end up buying some signed memorabilia, and then I will be conducting giveaways across all of my social media platforms. So I'm sure we'll be able to get over to 50. But say, for example, you rock with the show. I'm live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST. Definitely take full advantage of it, man. We're having a great time over here. Next up is Hard Knocks, man. The Buffalo Bills and Hard Knocks. Are we cursed? Are we cursed because our team is going to be on HBO? Is there going to be drama that's going to be all over the damn place, since that was just recently announced? And I said it at the beginning of my rant. And at the beginning of my rant, I suggested that I think there's something a lot of people are missing about why a team who has ever been featured on Hard Knocks never made it or never won a Super Bowl. And a lot of it had to do with the parameters surrounding what made a team eligible to be featured. And that rule is that a team that made the playoffs a year before was not eligible to be featured on Hard Knocks. All but this year. This is the first year where a team that did make the playoffs last year did have an opportunity of being featured on said show. Now, many are wondering, oh, yeah, like, look at the Bears. Like, their season was bad. Like, look at the Lions in 2022. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers, his first year. It all ended up going down the hill. Did you know that in the entire history of the NFL, there have only ever been 6 teams ever that have missed the playoffs the year before and won the Super Bowl the following year? Most recent was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they ended up getting Brady for that first year. So I think that's kind of an anomaly, right? And then in 2017, or the first year the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl with Sean McVay, I believe that was the second most recent. And then it kind of went down, I think, to like 2008. And then first one was 1981. So my point is, due to the parameters, it was already married to a statistic that did not go in any NFL team's favor, like, whatsoever. So I'm not buying into that whole situation. I look at the Buffalo Bills current roster. I look at what we were able to accomplish last year with a nationally mandated team that was supposed to be going on a downward spiral and regressing, that had a closed Super Bowl window, and ultimately ended up finishing with the best record and the best offensive production in franchise history. And then I look at that same team that improved significantly from a roster standpoint all across the board, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. I also look at how damn easy our schedule is. We have the 5th easiest schedule on the face of the planet. So barring any significant injury, this team's looking pretty good. And I'm not buying into that whole voodoo BS. I just refuse to at that point. Now, one thing that I think might be a red flag, and one thing I'm kind of wondering, will Brandon Beane ultimately end up swallowing his pride and coming to the table for James Cook for a contract so that dirty laundry is not aired across the entire United States prior to the season beginning, causing some sort of animosity? Because again, like, all of us are just like, oh man, you know what? Like, this Buffalo Bills team, they're here for each other. They love each other. They're all professionals. Everybody's a human being on this squad, right? And we are talking about 53, most of the time, men that are in their low 20s, right? Young to mid 20s. We are talking about 53 different individuals where, say, for example, that it's James Cook, or say, for example, it's somebody else that hops on one of those little side interviews during HBO's Hard Knocks, says something that pisses the team off, and lo and behold, it is released a week later, and there's animosity within the locker room for the next couple of weeks. That's genuinely something to think about. Like, do not be naive. Like, do not be naive at all that 53 human beings, where their testosterone is at the highest possible level within their lifetime, may not feel some type of way if one player starts to get in their feels and says something via an interview or via a separate filming session that's not going to be out there right in the world, right? So I think when it comes into Hard Knocks, I think that that's probably my biggest concern. But I suppose we're just going to have to hope, right? I suppose we're just going to have to hope that with HBO doesn't try to double down on the drama aspect of it. It doesn't piss off somebody, causes a domino effect. There's fighting within the locker room, but I'm just going to go on ahead and remain as optimistic as humanly possible that that is not going to happen. Because from a fan perspective, I am thrilled to see this. I am thrilled. I mean, I reflect back in the drought days. I would have given my left kidney to see the Buffalo Bills on Hard Knocks so I could get a good understanding of the interworkings of Sean McDermott and his training camp speeches. I'm just kidding. I think that joke was a bit way too soon there. But I don't know. I suppose you have to take it with a grain of salt, and I'm very interested to see what each and every single one of you have to say about it. All right, guys? Anyway, we're going to go on ahead and transition over into my Q&A segment. It's everybody's favorite segment. It's where I allow my live chat audience to take control of the conversation. In order for me to easily decipher between questions, statements, and those of you that prefer to argue amongst yourselves in the chat, please label everything appropriately. If you have a question, begin your submission with a Q. Say that you have a statement that you would like me to react to. Please begin it with an S. So that way it is easy for me to decide between the two, and also make sure that anybody listening to the replay of this episode, and also anybody that is listening on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts, can have a solid experience. I do need to give one more announcement, folks, because our tickets are flying off of the shelves. The AFC East Roundtable Sports, is coming to Buffalo, New York for Thursday Night Football, Bills versus Dolphins, Week 3. Now, we started off with, I think it was like 38 tickets. We only have 11 left, folks. We only have 11 tickets left. And I got to tell you, for our first time in Buffalo, we really ended up spending some cash so we can give you the perfect experience to not only meet me, TD Finstock, Colby, and Richie, but also Z-Bot and Rico, hang out with us during the game by itself, which, as you can see, we have the most beautiful seats money could buy right here in the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge. We literally have like the first 4 rows, all of us sitting together watching this game in real time. On top of that, your ticket also gets you access right to our live show at Southern Tier Brewery, in downtown Buffalo the night before the game. Nice little hangout session, and we'll probably end up giving you a little bit of some fire hot content and a preview video. Me, Rico, and Z-Bot attacking our good friend TD Finstock. It's gonna be a damn time, man. So, say for example, y'all are interested. I'm gonna go on ahead and I'm going to put the link right in the beginning of the chat. and say, for example, that you guys want to buy in right now, which I highly recommend that you do. If I'm a gambling man, I think this is going to sell out by this time next week because we already have a lot of deposits chase down. So say that you're interested. I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to put this link. I'm going to put get your tickets. Go on ahead and lock in, folks. For $450, you get all of that. I think it's a really, really good deal, especially since I ended up messing around and going on SeatGeek and Ticketmaster, and I saw a individual seat in the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge go for around $950. So all inclusive, solid seats at the end of the day. $450 gets you access to the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge, sitting with everybody, and then also your Southern Tier Brewing live show the evening before. And then we're also working on a tailgate experience as well, but that's going to be sold separately for people that maybe cannot make the game or already have tickets of their own. So certainly take advantage of this. And let me know if you buy a ticket while we finish this overall episode, man. I'm so excited to meet each and every single one of you. We got the Trek reviewer. I think the obvious tush push situations, the Bills should practice a play where Josh Allen motions out, then Deion Walker moves up behind center to take the snap. You want to take Deion Walker from the defensive line, put him on the offensive line. That's interesting. That is interesting, man. Kyle has come in with a question. With all of the defensive end depth, where do you think Jay Solomon falls in? So I'll tell you what, man, we have a lot of defensive ends. And I think realistically, when you look at the roster, I think it's fair to assume that there's going to be an odd man out. I wouldn't say that it's Javon Solomon. My hot take is that it's AJ Epinesa. And I don't think that AJ is going to be released. I think that he could potentially be traded. Potentially. Because I do like what Javon Solomon brings to the table, right? He was the college football sack leader 2 years ago. We got him in the 5th. I thought that he ended up flashing great with some of his opportunities last year. But the edge room in training camp is going to be something that we need to watch very closely. Because I have a feeling that there's going to be a big name that is left out at the end of the day. Question: is this the first time a team goes on Hard Knocks and wins the entire effing thing? You effing right it is. Go Bills. Jay-Way is coming in with that positivity that I love so much. And dude, I agree with you, man. Again, I feel like anybody that's saying, oh, and they're on Hard Knocks and that means y'all are cursed. I feel like anybody that's telling you that has long division homework to complete by the end of the evening. All right. They're likely 13 years old. It has everything to do with the parameters because this is the first year where they have allowed a team that has made the playoffs in the year before. And it's very unlikely that a team that missed the playoffs the following year wins the Super Bowl the following. It's how it is. Blake, do you need to hire additional videographers? Blake Greenwald, man. So I'll tell you what, man, we're trying to keep it lean for sure. I think that Richie is definitely going to be bringing his camera. We'll let you know. Shoot an email over to Richie. It's Richie at roundtablesports.net. He's the one that's kind of running. So the background and stuff along those lines. But worst case scenario, say that you just wanted to come and hang out, man. You're more than welcome to as well. But we are trying to keep it lean as far as the overall Buffalo experience. Carvin has come in saying, yesterday might have been the worst day of my life. And the way my Knicks loss was low-key similar to the Bills versus Chiefs 13-second playoff game. Well, luckily, and so it was only game 1, right, Carvin? So hopefully they will be able to bounce back during game 2 and ultimately end up wrapping up the series. I saw that this morning, and all I could think about was Richie. I'm sure he's probably feeling a little down in the dumps. It was certainly a game, man. And so Halliburton is the devil, right? King Thriller, you can't curse a cursed team. We're making and winning the damn Super Bowl, baby. And so I'll tell you what, man, it's funny. Maybe if TD Finstock is the reason that we ultimately end up winning the Super Bowl, it's because he steps foot into the Buffalo Bills Stadium. I think that's how it has to work. Bills 716. And do you think Brady and Allen should come up with a fake tush push or start using Knox, Hawes instead of Allen for the tush push by itself? So I'll tell you what, man. So I think that question was made based off of the concern for the health of Josh. And it's a fair like narrative to bring up, right? Because he's 29 years old and we have known Josh Allen for the past 3 to 4 years to really be able to be the perfect quarterback in his ability to make plays on the ground, like be super physical with tush pushes, QB sneaks, the whole nine. But it's fair to assume that eventually he's going to be, I'd say, approaching a cliff as far as his physical capability. Because once you get over the age of 30, that's when the body is nowhere near as effective as what it once was when you were 22, 23 years old. So I think we'll still run it. Perhaps we'll go on ahead and like take a slight step back, but I don't know, man. It's a hell of a play, and I'm looking forward to it. Spidey Munn has come in. If they were worried about it, couldn't they have declined being on Hard Knocks? Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So I don't necessarily think, right? So I don't necessarily think that this team is that worried about it. But I think it would be funny if James Cook does get a contract extension prior to training camp because they just don't want to deal with any sort of drama or something like that that could potentially be put out right into the airwaves. I don't know. I don't know. Carvin is coming in. Did you make a video about the new Offensive Lineman Award? And how are your thoughts on that? It's been a long time coming. Shout out to Dion Dawkins for being the first person to bring it into the conversation. The Protector of the Year Award. It's awesome, man. Look, I feel like it's something that should have been highlighted for quite some time. And I'm glad that now it is going to be a part of the NFL Honors Awards. I really, really am. Short Bus Terror Squad. No, we're not doomed by the Hard Knocks curse. We are a mature team with good coaching and players with good character. Usually they have a dysfunctional team on Hard Knocks. And so I certainly hope so, man, right? From the outside looking in, like you think about it, and like with all of us always say, yeah, man, like 53 guys that we do not know personally, they have great character, right? Or 53 guys that like we love watch the play each and every single Sunday. Like we only believe what we see from their press conferences, where a lot of them are very, very well media trained, right? We don't know how particular players handle like shit talk, right? And oftentimes on Hard Knocks, like you'll see like a side interview where a player who was caught in like the perfect moment said something that might have pissed off a player or two afterwards. And hopefully that they are grown men where they can get over it. But at the exact same time, let's remember, like these guys are right in their young 20s, right? They're 22, 23, 24, 25. I'm not sure about you guys, but that's like peak testosterone time for a man. You tend to get a bit more defensive, like during that time of your life. See, I feel like we will be fine, right? I do feel that way, but it's something to look out for. We have Jacob Clemens, a bit late to be talking about this, but thoughts on picking up Trey White again? Me personally, I think it was a dumb move considering White is way past his prime and they gave him big money. I wouldn't say that it was big money at all. In fact, I would say it's probably pretty close to a vet minimum type contract, right? So with Trey White, man, he's never going to be CB1, right? Like he's never going to be the first corner on the roster by itself, but it's very important to build out quality depth because that's half of the reason why Buffalo sucked last year was that so not sucked, but on the AFC Championship game because there was such a significant drop off from the first person on the depth chart right down to the second. Trey White did finally come off of a full season where he was healthy, right? And number two, his film over in Baltimore toward the back half of the season was actually very good. I don't think Trey White is going to be CB1 or CB2, right? he's taking over what Kyer Elam was last year, our emergency corner that could be on the depth chart. And I'll be completely honest with you. Trey White as a backup is better than Kyer Elam as a backup. 110%. 110%. Not much of a difference. So do I think that we're going to see Trey White go out there and like play at the same level as Christian Benford, or play it, or maybe even try and beat out Max Harrison? No, it's not going to happen. But I'll tell you what, I trust him a hell of a lot more for stepping in for a game or two, more so than I did Kyer Elam, because at least Trey White has proven that he has excelled in this system, right? He looked good last year toward the back half of the season. Not so much with the Rams, but with the Ravens, he did very well. He's coming back to a system that he knows. I honestly think that he is a quality depth piece, and depth is very important for this team's success. It's very important. It's something that I think this team has not prioritized up until recently. So I'm actually very happy with the Trey White signing, and no, it has nothing to do with nostalgia, right? So nostalgia. So I hate when people are always just like, "Oh my God, it's great. He was born to be a Buffalo Bill. He's coming back. He's gonna kill it." Like, no, I believe that he's a quality depth piece, and I trust Trey White to fill in for an injured Christian Benford, say that he's out for a couple of games, and I think that he'd be fine, quite frankly. Have you and Bob practiced the tush push? Yes, we have, my friend, several times, 3 times a day. Da Vinci has come in. Josh was on the Madden cover. What's the story about how that curse went? Season kind of started off bad, right? His season kind of started off bad, but I feel like that was more about a Ken Dorsey sort of situation. And then once Joe Brady came back, right? That season when Josh was on the Madden cover, that was the most annoying season I think that I've ever seen in my entire life. That's when we had to do the greatest story ever told. And so I'm sure y'all remember that, where like we had to manifest the Buffalo Bills from starting off at 6-6, winning their next 5, and stealing the division last minute from the Miami Dolphins. That was annoying. All right. Like that was probably the most stressful season I have experienced since Josh Allen and Sean McDermott have taken over. But no, man, listen, I am not buying into the curse. I'm not buying into the curse, like I said. And so with anybody that tells you that now the Bills are cursed because they're on Hard Knocks, have long division homework due at midnight. All right? They're 6 years old. No bones about it. Season couldn't be set up any better for the Bills. Then they go and get on Hard Knocks to F everything up, shaking my head. Oh, man, my homie over here, he probably ended up submitting that right before he heard my last statement. It's not going to be a curse. It's very silly. It's very juvenile. So like I said, so this is the first year ever where they have allowed a team to be on Hard Knocks that made the playoffs the year before. First year ever. And the reason no team has ever won the Super Bowl while being featured on Hard Knocks is because only 6 teams in the history of the NFL have ever missed the playoffs, and the following year they won the Super Bowl. It's kind of a big answer right there, right? Bills are going 17-0 or 16-1. Jeffrey's coming in looking good. Yeah, rough start. It broke my heart. On an overall football note, and so the Colts owner Irsay passed away. I did see that. That is absolutely terrible. It sucks, man. He was young too, dude. He was 65. It wasn't like that he was well into his 70s or like late 70s or anything like that. Sad news, man. Sad news. He was definitely a hands-on type owner. He had quite a bit of relationships with like some players and former players. Rest in peace to Irsay, man. That was terrible, and I feel god awful for his family and also the city of Indianapolis. Will you and the fellows be coming up to the Panthers beatdown? We have Jonas Burris. So the fellows may not, but that's actually a game that I have circled on my calendar for an away game attendance. I think that I may be heading up there with a buddy of mine that's not associated with the AFC's roundtable. He's technically the Panthers. So he's the Panthers guy on Roundtable Sports. So if y'all are familiar with that show, So the South Roundtable, or with the NFC South Roundtable, then perhaps you might be familiar. But him and I are going to be there. Should be, at least. Question: and do you think Ronald Curry will be the next offensive coordinator once Brady inevitably becomes a head coach soon, or will we go outside the organization? I think that we'll probably promote from within, like always. Like, that's just a part of the DNA over here in Buffalo. Highly doubt that we bring in somebody from the outside. I do think this is Brady's last year as OC. Like, this past offseason literally was a miracle that he somehow is still on this team as offensive coordinator, right? Yeah, I don't know. Wish I could go to the Thursday night game, but can't make the drive. But I'm going to Sunday night game against the damn Pats. Hey, man, listen, have a wonderful time, man. I hate that we're missing you, but hopefully next time we'll be able to make it happen. And do you think the Bills' physical training staff did a bad job with the Trey White injury? I only asked because it took him going to a different team to get healthy. I feel like there's really only so much you can do when it comes into ACL and knee injuries, right? It's kind of like an act of God or like a freak accident. But so again, I do feel like that there was a reason why our strength and conditioning coach got canned as well, because we had a lot of wrist injuries last year. Maybe, but it's nice to see that Trey actually stayed healthy for a full season. And that's good, because especially a lot of other corners that I think people were hoping we could have brought in, a lot of them were injured last year. So Trey White actually is coming off of a more consecutive timeline of being healthy, which is ideal. We have Jeffrey. What do you think the Chiefs are going to look like this season? It's very difficult for me sort of predict on the Kansas City Chiefs. As much as there's a Bills fan, a part of me that says that I hope that they take a downfall and they're just not the same, I always get proven wrong. So I'm just going to say that Kansas City wins their division. And so I think that they're going to be either 1, 2, or 3 seed. It's hard for me to ever bet against that team and bet against that head coach. And so regardless, right? Because like on paper, so you look at Kansas City and they had a lot of turnover on their offensive line. So they don't really have a quality offensive line on paper, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. And I'm sure they will win their division and we will face off against them in the playoffs once again. Hopefully we actually get it right this time, but who knows? Charles, and do you think Bosa will start the first game against the Ravens? He certainly will. He certainly will. Starting defensive line is going to be Bosa. It's going to be Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, and then Greg Rousseau. And then maybe they start doing some rotations as well. Like you'll see like Landon Jackson rotated in. You'll see maybe Deion Walker rotated in, maybe TJ Sanders rotated in with Ed Oliver. A couple of occasional lineups where TJ Sanders and Ed Oliver are against each other for passing downs. But like really, probably not the best. It's probably not the best strategy. So to have 2 3-tech defensive tackles right in the middle of that defensive line when you have Derrick Henry as a running back that we're supposed to be stopping. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Sorry, I haven't looked into anything about this Hard Knock stuff. Could you explain it a little bit and why people say we are doomed? It's mostly just children, man. It's mostly just children that are coming in and so living a superstitious life, right? So the thing is that so a team that has never all right. So a team that has been featured on Hard Knocks in the past, not one of them has ever won the Super Bowl. However, this is the first year where they have actually allowed a team that was in the playoffs the year before to be featured on Hard Knocks during training camp, right? This is the first year it's ever happened. And prior to that, right in the history of the game, and there has only been 6 teams in NFL history that have missed the playoffs and the following year won the Super Bowl. So it's kind of an overgeneralization, say that you were to ask me, and it doesn't apply to Buffalo. We're fine. Jacob Clemens, I will say this. I'm more concerned with Joey Bosa because I know for a fact he struggled staying healthy, but I think if we can keep him healthy, he may help, but I hope Joey isn't just post-injury Vaughn 2.0. So the problem with Bosa is that he stayed healthy for the most part last year, right? Like he's good. And then number 2, we basically ended up wiping money off of the books for Von Miller, and it only cost us about $2.5 million more for Joey Bosa. So say, for example, that you want to look at the overall investment. Number one, it's only a one-year deal, and we just replaced Joey Bosa with Von Miller, who still had stats last year, still looked great last year. He's still young, right? Especially for an edge rusher. So the way that you look at it, we basically got Bosa for $2.5 million. Say that you wanted to replace the contract that we would have paid Vaughn, and then what we had to pay for an additional aspect of it. So it's a solid deal. We have MT. Who do you think is the most likely to break out in our pass catching room and do way more than we expect? I think Shakir can get 1,100 yards receiving. So Shakir is definitely the favorite target, right? I'm probably still going to be the guy that says that we don't have a receiver on this team that cracks 1,000 again. Maybe one of them. And when I say cracks 1,000, it's going to be like 1,015 or like 1,016 or something like that. It's just not how Joe Brady operates, right? Like, he is very much a spread the ball around, run the football with James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, like short passes that allow wide receivers to get yards after the catch. So I think Shakir is probably going to have a very good year. I do see Keon Coleman actually taking another step and probably increasing his production about 20 to 30% ideally. And don't sleep on Josh Palmer. Do not sleep on Josh Palmer. A lot of the traits of Josh Palmer reminds me of what Amari Cooper should have been for us last year, or reminds me of what Amari Cooper was back in his prime, right? So time always tells. Dan, I am mad hyped to see Maxwell during the preseason. So am I, man. Like, just put him up next to Xavier Worthy for a damn race and make it happen. AFC West is going to be fun with the Chargers, Broncos looking like potential threats. Could be a year to see Kansas City drop 5 to 6 games and barely take the division. So the AFC West does look good, and they did have 3 playoff teams last year. They are coming. Are you an upper decky guy or an under decky guy? I am an under decky guy, my friend. I am an under decky guy. That is me. I don't know why I ever throw it in the upper deck, but it's just never been a part of my my routine, right? I'm praying on the Chiefs' downfall, and I hope we whoop the Ravens. Look, say that we get past the Ravens, then we have a very strong likelihood of going like 10-0 because our schedule afterwards is a breeze. Does the fact that the Ravens are historically not starting off the season great go in our favor? That, and on top of the fact that we're at home, so where we enjoyed an undefeated record, absolutely. Absolutely. Massive advantage. You should go to Bills versus Steelers game for your away game. Damn, man. You know, I would like to, but so I have to keep it strategic. I think, so based off of where I'm located, it's going to be easier for me to go to the Atlanta game and Carolina game. It's going to be a lot easier as far as being able to drive and stuff like that. I suppose I could. And so I'll be at the Super Bowl. And so with my company, Roundtable Sports. And so we went last year to cover it. Oh, man, I would love for the Bills to be there if I was there. But that's something. What do you mean when you say 1 tech or 3 tech? Thanks, Dan. You the man. Big Daddy D. So a 1 tech typically ends up lining directly in front of the center, right? Like, he's like a nose tackle in 3-4 schemes. Typically, a 1 tech is like a big body guy, right? That he excels in run stopping and taking double teams. Where a 3 tech is the opposite, right? He's more of the guy that's going to be a pass rushing-esque type defensive tackle. He's not quite typically the size of a 1 tech. Sometimes they are, but it's just where they line up on. It's just where they line up on the defensive line, right? So typically, when you look at a 3 tech, that's the kind of guy that you know is going to be rushing the QB and makes plays in that category. And 1 tech is that big body dude. He typically lines up directly in front of the center. He takes double teams to open up holes for the remainder of the defensive line. That's the difference. So between the two. Ryan Hack is saying Bosa is going to be a rotation guy here. He should have a much higher chance to stay healthy. Excited for the guys behind him too. So it's going to be fine either way. I do see a significant uptick a significant uptick in some production from Bosa and this defensive line in general. Do not sleep on this defensive line. Let's see what we got. Sal has come in. Maybe a new trend starts. Playoff teams that show up on Hard Knocks end up winning the Super Bowl. We're starting that trend. Absolutely. Let's entertain this curse narrative for a minute. If a cursed team that never won a Super Bowl gets cursed with another no Super Bowl curse, don't those curses cancel each other out? They do. That's thinking smart right there. And do I like the offensive line? I absolutely do. Absolutely. We have the entire returning offensive line coming back last year. We enjoyed top 3 in run blocking metrics and pass protection metrics. Yeah, for sure. Like when it comes into building the trenches, we are in a much better position than a hell of a lot more people. So I'm feeling really damn good about it. And you should too. We have Deshaun has come in saying, I understand, don't sleep on Palmer, but so do you think Allen and Williams hurt Palmer's progression when he was in the Chargers? Williams, okay, so with the Keenan Allen and Williams, maybe not. Like maybe when he was with the Chargers and you had Keenan Allen and Williams like 2 years ago, he was still young. He was still looked at as just a wide receiver number 3, and he was earning his chops, right? Like now he's actually going into a system where I think his utilization is going to be more established. We have Young Baller reacts. Dan, how do you feel about the possibility of bringing in Asante Samuel Jr. this late into free agency? So as many of you guys know, I was a massive advocate for grabbing Asante Samuel Jr. during free agency. And for some reason, to this day, he is still not signed. I want to say that he's visiting the Miami Dolphins today, or he did yesterday. But from what I have been hearing, it sounds like his medical history is a significant issue. So I'm very happy with how I think we addressed the corner room, right? So you draft Max Harrison, then grab Dorian Strong, have Trey White, have Dane Jackson. So the two that are actually quality, very familiar with the overall defensive scheme. I think Dane Jackson might be the odd man out because I have a feeling Dorian Strong does beat him out. Now I feel like it would just be a bit redundant, right? I feel like it would just be a bit redundant for me. I think if the QB, we're talking about the Canadian QB, the Canadian Heisman winner, or the equivalent of a Canadian Heisman, does better for the Packers than both Trubisky, White. I could see Buffalo trading for him. He was on the Bills practice squad for a minute, but then I feel like he ended up going over to the Packers, right? Thoughts on Amari Cooper? I didn't see much from him last season, besides the fact that he came in later in the season, and so our offensive playmaking is a little unorthodox by nature, but still, is he a wide receiver number 1? It's tough for me to say that about Amari Cooper because he just had a significant amount of bad luck once he was traded over to the Buffalo Bills, right? Like he was traded for the Bills, had 1 to 2 games where he was still learning the playbook, right? Like he wasn't like he didn't know what the playbook truly was until about, I'd say, 3 weeks in. And that third game he played for us against the Seattle Seahawks, that's when he ended up breaking his hand, where doctors were telling him that he needed to get surgery and end his season, but he decided to play anyway. So I think that kind of explains why his targets went down so significantly. I think he still has it as far as a route runner. I do think he's dangerously approaching that level of regression. From what I understand, he's been having conversations with the Raiders right now, so he might be returning to the same team that drafted him. But yeah, I mean, I was always an Amari Cooper fan, and he did give us a couple of really cool highlight level catches and some solid stuff from us. Josh beat the Madden curse. Will beat the Hard Knocks curse too. I love it. Hair stun. Kyle's coming on in. The pronunciation police in here, huh? Jacob Clemens probably should have added, assuming Amari stays in Buffalo. We have MT. Does the strength of schedule mess up Josh Allen's MVP stock? So to be honest with you, man, I could care less. And so about that award right now, right? Like he won it. right? Like he is an MVP of the league. Now I think I could care less. Like now really all I care about is us like actually like beating the Chiefs in the playoffs, like making it like to the Super Bowl this year. But no. Say for example that he goes out there and he has like a crazy ass season like he did. I don't think it would. Statement. And so I would like to have Amari Cooper back, honestly. And so I think he has a lot to offer still. We have Mikey. I'm glad the Tush Push survived. Teams can't stop it. So they tried to utilize the rules committee. Go Bills, for sure. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Young baller. Dan, wasn't the Hard Knocks curse a you missed the playoffs if you were on it? No. So I think a few teams made the playoffs. I think the few teams made the playoffs, but I think the curse is that you never won a Super Bowl or something like that. I think that was the thing. Ryan, it sounds like our late round DB per usual and Strong has been looking really smooth. We think he could make the 53. It's going to be between him and Dane Jackson. Like that is the competition that I feel like all of us need to be watching. Bella, hello, Dan. Hello, Bella. Hope all is well. All right, folks, that's going to have to do it. I have a meeting that starts in about 10 minutes. But I did want to remind everybody, me and the boys at the Roundtable Sports Company, we are coming to Buffalo for Bills versus Dolphins. Once again, we have secured tickets for the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge in Highmark Stadium to watch the Thursday night football matchup. We had about 30 plus tickets. Right now, we only have 11 left. Say, for example, you want to get in on the action, come watch the game with myself and TD, Richie, Colby, Zbot, and Rico from Buffalo Fanatics, and also get access to our live show from Southern Tier Brewing in downtown Buffalo the night before. Go on ahead and secure your tickets. We only have 11 left. Like I said, go to the site that is pinned at the top of the chat and then hit buy tickets right here. And then you will be able to check out and get there. Like I said, only 11 tickets left. We had 30 plus, only 11. I have a couple of ones that like people ended up putting deposits down at the very beginning. So say, for example, you're interested, guys, and you want to go ahead and take advantage of this. Quality seats. Like I said, like you cannot grab these seats at all for anything less than $900 on SeatGeek or Ticketmaster. What a way to send off the final year of Highmark Stadium. Sitting with myself, sitting with all of your favorite content creators, hanging out and doing our thing. So go on ahead, lock in right on this event. And I really hope to see the vast majority of you there. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Don Mafia Live or the Don Mafia Report, etc. And I will see you a bit later for Roundtable Sports, fourth and forever. See y'all soon.